my agenda is about the getting started with Azure Data Services. Now, Azure is a very, very big product, right? And you are having so many items they are keep adding. So I doesn't want to bog you with so much knowledge. I give you the how you can get started with the Azure data specific odd items which we can get start working on. So myself, I'm a senior technical consultant at one of the Microsoft partner called Insight Technologies. I'm Microsoft MVP, MCT. I have experience in Office 365, Teams, SharePoint Online, and data platform. I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant, and I do a lot of trainings in-house and also outside. I'm a trainer, so that's why you can see I'm MCT. So I do a lot of trainings outside of my company as well, right? So if you want to contact me, you can see on my LinkedIn and my Gmail and my Twitter handle. That is 30 seconds about myself. Okay, so agenda for us, again, very simple. We talk about the core data services which Microsoft has. We also talk about the relational data services which Microsoft has. Either SQL Server, Oracle, doesn't matter. We talk about all the relational databases, and we have a demos for that. Second is about non-relational databases. I mean, big data stuff and all. Again, I'm not an expert, but I show you the how you can get started and work on that. So I have some tips that if you want to get started with the AI, if you want to get started with the data, you want to get started with Power Platform, I will give some tips because I do a lot of sharing and to training, so you can get some idea how I do. And the last topic we talk about the modern data warehouse analytics. So we'll see that how we can get working with this. Okay. So the first topic I will talk about the core data concepts. Okay. The first is what is the data? Now, you have seen in school, in colleges, in offices as well. So we have three types of data we have. First is a structured data, which have tables, columns, and all, and they are stored in the tables and views and rows and columns. Now we have seen many these kind of things in your in SQL Server, Oracle Server, Azure SQL DB, many systems, right? So these are the purely you have seen in from your college time, from your organizations. This structured data is always be there. Okay. And we always have to normalize the data. I've seen when I go to some consulting and then have a lot of data, whether it's Power BI, whether it's a data platform, whether it's a data words, the data is not clean. So you have to always normalize the data, right? So we have many tables. We have to chunk it so that you have a better performance when you do the any data structures. Okay. So if you know about normalizations, first NF, second NF, three NF, those things are the core concept which we will see, not in the demo, but just want to give the basic concepts. Second one is about the semi-structured, right? The semi-structured, the data which is like CSV files, which you've seen in the screenshots, right? Yeah, right. That is a semi-structured. The JSON data, CSV data, your XML data. So this is semi-structured. So it's not from here or not from here. Okay, so this is a semi-structured data. And we have another type of data which is called as unstructured data. Now you can see the messages, video, images, right? So these are the unstructured data. Examples you can see about your large files. You have media files, MP4 videos, your MP3s and all, your AutoCAD large files. Yeah. So these are the large unstructured data which a lot of companies use, even SharePoint use it as well. So this is a pure about what is data. Now, what is the difference between the transactional data and your analytics data? The first one talk about the OLTP, which is online transaction processing, which you have seen in the many systems, SQL Server, you have seen in data words as well. So these are the all OLTP systems. These are live systems, And example could be again any relational database, right? Your SQL Server, your Dataverse, or any system which has the transactions you can do, right? And another thing, other system we have is called as a OLAP, right? OLAP is a periodically data which you can add, right? That is in the which is aggregated, can be stored in the cube or on any systems. Examples we can think of your Cosmos, IBM Cosmos, your Oracle, or your SQL Server analysis service examples, right? These are the example. Now, Aroh, what is the difference between the OLTP and OLAP? The main difference, there are many differences, examples, but OLTP is for some small updates, right? You want to have some data, maybe some terabyte of data also you can do it, but you can add and delete the data, but is frequently you can remove and add and update. That is the use of OLTP transactions data, example of SQL Server. But what is the OLAP? Now, OLAP is where you want to have very large data sets, right? And you can't done in the relational databases. You can obviously do it, but very large data sets. So that we don't query, we don't update or add. We just query it. Example of Cosmos, right? The Azure Cosmos DB. It's a large database, a petabyte of data. So in those contexts, we used OLAP systems. Okay, examples of the systems. Now, again, data processing, I'm going to very in general talking about the different types of system we can have. First is the batch processing, right? Examples are where you want to have a chunk of data and put into your systems. Examples, your transaction, your credit card informations, or you're billing some information. Example, your Azure billing, right? That is example of batch processing. Now, another examples about streaming data sets is you want to have data, but it's too much data. Things about your go to metro and data is too much there, right? IoT devices example, so social media feeds. This is ton of data. Obviously, can be managed under relational database. So these are example of streaming processing applications. Okay, and Azure IoT devices and those things are good examples for this. Okay, now let's go for this is the basic concepts. Again, I don't have a demo, but again, now we see about a demos about relational database which we have, which Microsoft provide to us. Okay, so what other data services Microsoft provide to us? First is obviously we have Azure SQL DB. All right, Azure SQL DB can be in cloud and can be in different systems. Could be in IaaS applications, in PaaS applications, many systems we can do. And also what Microsoft is trying to achieve is that people who have worked with other systems like your MySQL, your PostgreSQL SQL, or your MySQL as well. Those can be also, this is MariaDB is here. So this is I mistype here. So here we can have all the things which support by Microsoft. So Azure DB for SQL, Azure DB for MariaDB, Azure DB for PostgreSQL. So these are supported, or non-Microsoft applications can be also embedded, and Microsoft will manage all your applications. That's the beauty of Azure Data Services. Besides your obviously shape of your Microsoft applications like SQL, all other three can be supported by Microsoft, right? So you don't have to worry. Although people have skill set in the MySQL, MariaDB, or PostgreSQL, they can actually use it, and Microsoft will manage all their applications for that matter. Okay. Now I give you a slightly, I think you've seen this multiple times, but let me share this thing with you that the multiple applications you can go in terms of again, which Prashant also mentioned, right? It depends on your customer requirements, right? Now, I worked for on-premises system for many years, right? And here what we have is a cloud, private cloud. So the you don't have any internet connections. All your data, all your application, OS, everything is managed by your company or your on-premises applications, right? Could be a SQL server, your Windows server, everything is maintained. The problem with this is that they keep on updating, all right? And that's why the cloud comes to picture. So we have three other applications, three modules that we can go. And we have first is IaaS, infrastructure as service, where the cloud provider, which is could be Microsoft or could be any other provider. So Microsoft will provide all your computing services, your computer, your hardware, everything, networking, storage, all things. But in IaaS, you as a user or customer, you will manage all the data applications and VMs. So this can be very useful where you want to have slightly more control on your VMs and OS. You can do anything. Okay. Then we have another where Microsoft support you that, or even the runtime which Microsoft provide to you, runtime, OS, everything. So what Microsoft won't manage is your applications. That is called a PaaS services. Okay. And then we have a last one is a software service like your Gmail, your Office, Outlook, everything is done by managed by Microsoft, right? So these are the main differences. Why I'm going through this thing, because in next slides you are able to understand how Azure data services actually can be used in different applications. So I have to share this slide. You at least you get that idea. Okay. Now again, I want to share with you that when you use IaaS, right? This PaaS, right? This is very close to sorry, I got this side. Physical server, right? This is your physical server you're maintaining. So this one, all your physical server you maintain. You're not using cloud, but you see that how much admin effort is required and how much cost is required. So much cost required. Now, if you do for IaaS, now Microsoft will manage all your servers, everything, right? And you can have your own VMs called SQL Server on the Azure VMs. Is in that context, right? You have full flexibility to have which VMs you want to do, right? And which SQL Server you want to manage, whether you want to do SQL Server 2017 or 2019, 2022, doesn't matter. You have full capability, full rights to do everything. Microsoft will still manage, but not all the capabilities, right? And then we have a PaaS service like SQL, Azure SQL DB, where you can have more lesser flexibility, but you have a more scale. You can have more scalability. For example, you have some data which is coming from in morning. But an example of SQL, Azure SQL, and in afternoon we have a lesser data that is called as elastic pool. Those features are available at PaaS only. Example, right? So this gives you more flexibility in terms of the scaling of your applications. Okay. Now let's work on the how SQL Server can be provisioned in Azure. The first one I mentioned to you that we can use SQL Server as an IaaS application, IaaS, right? This is one, infrastructure as service, right? So this is to give you more capability, more flexibility, right? And here what you have in the, I go to first approach. In the first approach, our first approach is that is very similar to what you have on premises, almost similar, and you don't have to manage anything. So very similar what your on-premises system has, and your full capability of all your SQL Server. I mentioned to you, you can have any server, SQL Server, which is supported by Microsoft. Okay. Microsoft will manage your applications, will manage your IaaS applications. So this is a one very good approach if the customer is not to work on the cloud specifically. So they can use Azure as a SQL Server and they can manage their applications if they want to do. The second way is about the Azure SQL Managed Instance. Now, this is very, very useful for the customers or the users who want to move your on-premises applications to the PaaS service, right? So you can still manage your managed systems. Example, I want to move my 2019 SQL Server 2019 to 2022, right? Which is SQL Server. So we can use something called a lift and shift process. This is very, very simple to do it. And you have almost near to 100% capability in terms of the features specifically. And the last capability when talking about where is called as SQL DB. In SQL DB, you can have your built on the cloud, obviously, and it can scale. I mentioned to you that if the data in morning is too much and in the evening is lesser, then you can have scale out, right? So this is to give you better scalability. So again, depends on each requirements, what you do. I give you two options, right? And you can go for the managed instance. You feel that, okay, I doesn't want to go full-fledged, full throttle on the cloud. I want to have all the features. I have customers in my in Asia, in Europe, and also in US. Maybe I can use for my SQL DB because my data is not. I can't gauge how much data I will have in terms of the transactions. Okay, so we have the IaaS service and then PaaS service. So let's go in depth now. So when you go to IaaS on the VMs, Microsoft supports you. The only thing I'm in highlighted, the customer manage everything. When you manage IaaS, you have to control you have to do your OS upgrades, software upgrades, and backups. Again, IaaS you have to do, right? Because you want to have flexibility. Microsoft manage everything, but you have to control your OS, your softwares. Again, the patching and the backups you have to do yourself. So IaaS depends on the company. Microsoft won't touch this thing. They doesn't touch the OS. They just guarantee that the systems are working. Right? This is IaaS applications. This is very good to customers who are moving from on premises to cloud, but in the have more flexibility. You can use many hospitals maybe, or maybe the private cloud, they use this kind of flexibility. They want to have safety of the patients, and there are some legal companies, they want to go for IaaS applications. Again, example for the industries. Okay, SQL DB have seen again examples that minimal administration required, and you can have a single DB or you can have elastic pool. I mentioned to you that you can have elastic pool. You can have multiple databases with the shared resources. So your memory, your storage will be same, right? But you can have multiple databases. So that is the beauty of your SQL DB. Scalability is there, and you have flexibility of a scaling of a. Okay, and managed instance, I mentioned to you that is very good for the lift and shift. People who want to have on premises, that they can use it as an instance pool. Very, very useful. I don't use it much, but I give you the examples that how we can use it. So again, good thing is that it's almost 100% capability with the on-premises servers. So your on-premises servers you will have the same kind of capability and compatibility when you use managed instance. And that's why I mentioned to you that you can have lift and shift capabilities. People who want to do a managed instance, they doesn't want to go for full throttle on the cloud, then your customers will be using managed instance examples. Okay, so examples of why we use managed instances here. You can see here that why use it. So managed instances, you want to have more different kind of servers you want to do. Even want to have 2012 different servers you can do, and it's fully managed, which means Microsoft will manage it. Okay, but you have to manage it in terms of the OS and upgrades. Okay. Why I use SQL DB is because I can have a full capability to use a large data set, something called as hyperscale storage. I can use this one as well, right? And I can use the capability of serverless computing and again managed services. So again, depends on the different customers, different use cases and all. Microsoft give you full capabilities, spectrum of services which you can use in terms of data services. Okay. Again, I mentioned to you also that Microsoft also supports to the non-Microsoft products like your PostgreSQL and your MySQL and MariaDB applications also. The one thing I want to share with you is that the PostgreSQL has the properties which are both relational and non-relational. This is if you're working on the DP900, this question might come if you want to study for this. So one question came about which database works with both relational and non-relational, the answer will be PostgreSQL. Again, I will give you some exam tips which I want to share with you later on, right? So this is the things which we can go for. Now, time for demo, because I believe that rather than giving theory, you must see how it works in practice. So again, it's a fundamental. I'm not going to a very in-depth, so you can see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to create a new SQL Server, right? And what I will do, I go and create a new provision, a new relational database. So I go and provision the new SQL instance. So what I can do, I can click on the resources and search for Azure. And we see that ton of properties, ton of more than 100 plus services Microsoft Azure has. But we are just scoping into data services. So I go click on Azure SQL. OK, and you can see that it has a I can put in favorites and it show what it does. Again, it's some kind of information. People are working on this. You can see managed instance, which I mentioned to you, SQL manages, virtual machines and all. So these are things you can actually have a look on this. OK, I click on the create now. OK, and you can see that I have a different options. I can go for SQL database, managed instance, or VMs, right? I mentioned there are 3 ways I can do, but let's go for simple demo. I want to go for just Azure SQL DB, and you also mentioned it, give you a brief that is best for your modern cloud application and have a hyperscale, which means you can have 100 terabytes of data. You can go for that. Right, so I click on something called as create. OK, and I just see. So I go and use my subscription, my Azure subscription, and I have already created something called as a global bootcamp for Pune. So I'm using this users group, and I also use a database name. So I use a database name called as AdventureWorks. Put AdventureWorks, and I can create a new server if you want to. So I create a new server. OK, and I put the name of the server. I put the server name as maybe I put Azure SGP. As you see, this should be unique. This should be unique across across the globe, right? So I use this name, right? And then I use the authentication, right? So we can have a SQL, you can have Azure AD, or you can have both SQL and Azure AD. In a demo perspective, I just use this one. I just use this server name, admin name, and I put the password. I put password 1 as a demo. I will, after the demo, I will delete this SQL server. OK, I click on OK. Now, another option I want to show to you that I have option to have an elastic pool. What is elastic pool is show to you. Again, it is a automation. When you have too much data, where maybe we think about COVID cases happening across the globe. Maybe in US, it shows the data from the CDC goes to maybe all the data is pulled in the morning. And in afternoon, there's no much data. So in that context, we can go for have some option called as elastic pool, which means if the data is in morning is too much, I don't want to scale out. I don't want to shut down my server. I want to just use it as it grows. And maybe in afternoon, maybe I just reduce my speed. So Microsoft Azure will do for you automatically. But this is an example, but I can do anything here. I can go change my storage and compute systems. I can have backup. Now, again, if you go for the different kind of backup strategy, I want to have my data to be in Singapore, in India, in Australia, and also in US. Then I use this option, but this is a high cost. But maybe I've used the local only. And when I use it, the cost will be much cheaper. OK, so I go for this local. It doesn't matter. I can go for, because anyways, I want to delete this application. I use local one. I just want to use one for just for India databases only. And I then click on my networking. OK, so I switch, go for networking. Now, if I put no access, which means nobody in the world can access this thing. And the other one I can put as a public. Now, public is everyone can see, right? So it's not very safe. Best option, maybe as best practice, I can use a private endpoint. I can put specific connections and I can use it. So in a demo, I can use anything. So in my using public endpoint, and I can have firewalls, yes, for all the things. So all my services, all the users can see it. OK, again, it's not safe. I just a demo, I can use it. Best option to use a private endpoint, and I give users, specific users to access to my SQL Server. OK, so this is one examples. I put yes, and I use the default properties here. OK, connection policy, I just default. OK, and I'm using the default TLS systems as well. So let me do, and I click on security. And you can see here that Microsoft have a Defender. So again, you can go for that if somebody attacks your SQL Server, then Microsoft will actually help you to do this thing. I doesn't want to do it because it's costly. Again, it's a cost per $15 per server per month. So I'm going for, again, for demo perspective, not good. But for the enterprise perspective, and if you have large data set, you can enable it. OK, you can enable it. And other system, other settings, I just keep a default. I click here. And I want to use a database. So I use a simple database called as Adventure Works. And that is the thing I can curate. And I use my database. So I put server name, my Azure server. And I put the name of my server, which is Azure SQL Server. Value, I'm done with this. OK, I'm going to create it. And you can see the costs here. I just want to highlight something. I give a lot of demos in community, and last year what happens that I never knew that I overshoot the costing. I paid $400 and I was billed to me. So when you do anything, you always try to shut down and remove your resources. Right, because you don't have to cost. You always have budget. You always have cost budget, and you have to maintain. And many companies already have a cost billing and all. So after, for example, you have maybe 5,000 Indian rupees, or you have USD and all. So after 500 USD something, you maybe will get an email that OK, you are already overshoot. So always have a budgeting, Azure budgeting, so that you don't overshoot your bill. I didn't do it, so I costed. I charged. I was charged $400. So very careful when you do any Azure stuff, whether it's AI services or DB services. Always remove the resources immediately. That is something I had a hard way I learned. So always ensure that you do remove it, all services. OK. So yeah, again from the trial and error, I learned and I paid. Again, it's a good thing to learn that. OK, I put a costing for my Azure that I don't use that much cost for my resources. OK, so this is an example I'm doing it, and it will take some time. Now, before I do, any question you have, because may take at least 1 or 2 minutes, any questions you have on this area? Yeah. So in terms of the, I just give an example. I want to give examples. I was previously I was a hardcore on-premises application developer, right? Talking about 7 years back. And I have to manage all my servers and backups, everything done well. So when you have a new server, SQL Server, so what I have to do, I have to create first a new Windows Server in VM, Windows Server. I do a patching of the Windows Server, all the patches. And after that, I have to do install the SQL Server, whether it's a 2014, 2017, doesn't matter. OK. and I will do all the hardening of the servers. If you know people of hardening, you have to remove few of the things which are maybe not safe for specific applications and all. So you have to do hardening of the servers. So what happens is that this process, it takes at least 3 to 4 days or maybe 5 days. Okay, and after that I have to go to the security team, and they go and they check if the Windows servers, the SQL servers, or any server for that matter, it's a SharePoint server on premises, are they safe? Okay, and after that it takes almost 10 days, Windows server, SQL server, and SharePoint server, and only after that I can deploy my applications. I'm telling you the real scenario which I actually witnessed in the one of the government agencies in Singapore, and then something which I actually faced it. That time the cloud was not that too much in the picture, but something which I used it. So maybe 7 to 10 days it takes to verifications and all. Now, what I want to share with you is that how easy I can create a virtual machine, how I can create a server. All the hardening, everything is done by Microsoft. All the things are done by Microsoft. So you have to, even the backup, even attacks that I mentioned about Defender, Microsoft will manage everything for you. So that is the beauty of managing your data services in the cloud, irrespective whether it's a Power Platform, whether it's your AI services, whether it's your SQL DB, everything can be managed there. Okay, so something examples I want to share with you. Okay, now you see that all my okay, now you can see that I have new server done. I can see that my Gab and my Pune RG is here. My server is there. Everything is there. I've never provisioned for Elastic Pool. So you can have a connection with the Power Platform. So I can connect to Power Platform. Again, if previously it was in preview, now it's in GA. Okay, so a lot of things I can do in terms of the Power Platform. So that's the thing I want to show to you, that what is possible with that. And now I want to do something which is in preview, which is called a query editor. I can query. I can actually install SQL Server also directly in my cloud, but because anyways, I'm going to delete this resource group, I can just query the data also directly here. So I go and search for my password. So this is my password 1. I put it here and I click OK. I logged in. OK, and I logged in. So I can see that all my database, everything is provisioned here. All my tables are here. All my customer table, product table, my views are already provisioned there, and also source pages are already there. You see, within 5 to 10 minutes, I have provisioned my SQL Server. OK, and my database already provisioned. My customer address is already there. I want to query, so I can also query it. So let's query. So let me query the database now. I go and search my database. OK, I click on query. OK, and now this is could be huge database. You see now my data is here. I can see all my data is coming through. OK, so this is the way you can create a SQL Server within less than 5 to 10 minutes provisioned. OK, if you want to slightly more have a more security, you can have some private endpoint and all. But within 10 to 15 minutes, you can have your SQL Server provision. That is the beauty of. I'm telling you an example of my previous examples where I have to do setup Windows Server, I have to do SharePoint server, SQL Server, and it takes 7 to 10 days to set up everything there. Now, within 5 to 10 minutes is provisions. This is the power of Azure, right? You can do so many things so fast. OK, so this are things which we can do here. And I can do anything. I can query other things as well. OK, I can query other applications as well. Okay, I can close everything. So the way you can do it. So this is an example of the SQL Server. Again, it's a relational databases, right? Relational databases. OK, so to save time, I'm going to go to the next demo. which is called as a non-relational databases. Non-relational databases. Okay, so example I shared you previously is about Azure SQL DB, your PostgRE, MySQL. Those things are relational databases. Now, previously we have in 94 onwards, from 2000, we have too much data and we can't have too much. We can't too much. Relational databases are not so good when you're talking about large data sets. So NoSQL. NoSQL is a terminology, not by Microsoft. NoSQL means you don't have any normalizations, zero normalization we do. And the beauty of no normalization is that data can be easily accessed in the large data sets. Okay, so let me show you example that and when you use NoSQL, there's no concept of relationships. You have worked with relationships in your SQL Server and Oracle, whatever it is, and there's no stored procedure also there. And everything actually is denormalized. You work on the power on the keys and a row only. Example. So in Azure, how we can do it? We can use something called as Azure Table Storage, right? And we can use something called as a file storage as well, right? Examples of my customers that they want to have a large files and on premises, they want to move to those large files to Azure file storage somewhere. So this is a very, very cost effective things, and you can have the data till 100 terabytes and use the same SMB protocol, which is very, very and easy for you to manage it. OK, so if the customers are from actually on premises, they want to have large data sets, then Azure file storage should be a good option. Again, depends on the use cases. OK, and then the one of the very good database, which is called as the Azure Cosmos DB, which I give a demo. Now, why is Cosmos DB? Think about Facebook, think about Twitter, think about YouTube, think about Google products, think about Microsoft products. You can't have so much data. You can't have so much information can be stored. Relational database will always won't work. All right. So in that case, Microsoft create a new database called Cosmos DB. I know a lot of people use Teams, right? People use Teams. I want to have chats. Think about people across the globe, right? Chats and messages can be done everything into these chats everywhere. So Cosmos DB, all your chats, all your images are actually stored into Cosmos DB. If you don't know, is that Cosmos DB, all your chats are stored into Cosmos DB. If you people know about Teams, yeah, I give an example which are people know easily able to relate. OK, and you can do partitioning, you can do a lot of documents, you can have real-time access, and you can take us advantage of Azure scaling and capabilities there. One thing I want to share with you, again, I have don't work with Cosmos DB much, but I have to seen with the many webinars and all that many people, when they use Cosmos DB, they have the issues with which I had, the scale. I forgot to the scale, the capacity calculator. So when you're working on the Cosmos DB or something, you always work on the Cosmos the capacity calculator. So I'll give you one example here. Where is my calculator? I just OK, so this is go to the calculator. OK, and this is the calculator. So it depends on your storage, number of accounts, number of the regions and all, how much you want to do. You always see how much it will cost, right? So please ensure that when you're doing the Cosmos DB, you don't overshoot and then the company pay for your cost, right? So please ensure that when you're working on the a different kind of APIs they use, how much data you want to total, how much GB. Okay, I want to have to the GB, the cost, and I want to have items, and also it will give you some capability, right? Number of regions, I want to have multiple regions and all. The cost will be actually be there. So don't even do testing. Work on the testing environment. You see, just I increase it is $1,000 per month. If I have more cores, more regions and all, it will cost. and a fortune for the company. So on ensure that when you're working on the Cosmos DB, you have a network people, your the stakeholders checking how much cost you have to cost, right, for that thing. So again, the costing is very important to when you're working on these things. Okay. And the use cases we can use it in the gaming, we can use it in the retails and IoT devices, large data sets, very large data sets. Okay, and Cosmos DB can work in multiple databases. You can work on the SQL API, on the German API, and Cassandra, Table API, many APIs you can work on. Okay, and so let's provision the Cosmos DB. Please provision that I will after this demo I will delete it, my things. The Cosmos DB things are a bit costly. So if you want to test it out, try on the free edition of your Azure, which is $200. You can try it out, but immediately delete the resources immediately after that. Okay, so I just show a demo for this. And let's show, I'm going to create a new resources now. Okay, and in my example, I'm provisioned a new SQL DB, so a new Cosmos resource. So I create a new resources and search for Azure Cosmos DB, and it gives you a lot of immediate. It will give you a lot of information here. So I go click on the create, and you can have go for multiple. In my slide deck, you can go for multiple APIs. I go for the recommended one, which is called the SQL core SQL. I click on create. Okay, and I use my Azure subscription, and I'm using the Pune resource group, right? And this context I will do, I just add a details here. Okay, and what I will do, I just put Azure Cosmos DB. DB. I put Pune. Yeah, so this is my account name. Okay, and I can go for different capacity. I can go for serverless, doesn't matter. I go for default capabilities, and I want to use a free tier. Okay, you can use some tiers. My Cosmos DB give you some free tier to test it out, but again, please delete after that. Okay, and click on the create. Okay, and click on the create button, and see I will have this. Yeah, I just I think my so I'm already created. So you can see that I have this resource group, I have this database. I'm just created. Okay. So creating is again, when you're creating resources, I showed you it's very easy. The main thing is about the brainstorming with your end users, with the stakeholders, how much data they want to use it and all, and we take some time to digest, because clicking it will take few minutes only. But having a proper understanding with the end users, with your stakeholders and your business users, that take more time, right? Maybe take 2-3 days, 4 days, maybe 5 days. So once you have all your questions answered by your business guys, then you can click, and because I showed you clicking, it take only few minutes only. Okay, so that is a things which we can do, and after a few minutes, it will give you details. Let me show you some examples also here. Ben here, let me go to here. Now, SQL API is a default. I showed you recommended, right? So SQL API is a default, okay, and which we can use in our core applications. Okay, sorry, click on this. Okay, and then we have something called as a table API. Table API is where you mostly use to retrieve your documents, right? Think about the large tables, right? Very large tables and all. You can store this information, and you can use in your Cosmos DB as well. Okay. Then we have something called as MongoDB as well. MongoDB. In MongoDB, you can have the same kind of thing. It's very useful if you want to have some kind of a programming interface with your on-premises applications. Okay, so this is very useful. gramming Cassandra APIs are very useful if you want to have a large database systems and all. Again, useful if you're using on-premises applications. Okay, so that's the thing. Let me see whether it's our database is provisioned. Yes, already provisioned. Okay. Okay, so this is the way I'm just creating a simple database. Now you can see it's a similar way I can do. I showed you that I can do on Cosmos DB. I can do similar thing for my SQL Server. Okay, but I have no database, right? So I have to have some data. So I can click on the under overview, click on the on my sample data. I click on my sample data. And it takes some time at times. I don't know. It should not be. It could be could faster. I think it's still loading. Yeah, it's still showing loading. You can see that it's still loading. So what it's showing is it's loading a sample database. It's loading a sample database. You see it's created right for us. Now, if we click on sample database. Okay. Try to refresh it. This was correcting it. Okay. Now it's loading up. So we have some data, sample data we have, right? I click on sample data. I click on my sample data and I click on items. So the sample data have 4 rows. I can add a new item as well if you just want to see whether that item is working. So I add an item called as a new item. And mostly because we're using SQL API, we have to use something called as a JSON content, and I save the data. Okay, and after a few minutes, I can able to query it as well. I click here. Okay. Again, I query it. Okay, and I query it. See, I can get all my data, but is coming from all the applications. Okay, so that is the thing which I can do. Okay, and this is a sample data. I can query which I have. Maybe I can have same thing which I do in the SQL servers. I can just query the data and run the query. And give me all the details. Right? So that is the use of Cosmos DB. Again, it's a very high level. I'm not going to in depth with this, but let's go to the analytics option as well. Okay, so I think I won't have time because it's too much things. I just show you that what are the options we have. So in the modern analytics options, we have something called as Azure Data Factory. You have a data lake, Azure Data Bricks, and Synapse. Okay, and what is Azure Data Factory? If you have the different resources, you have one resource, you want to pull out different other resources. So what data factory actually does actually make from one source to another storage, it converts it. That is use of the data factory. Okay, so it's a pipeline, a lot of things we can do here. So I think I won't have time because I still have a demo to you. Let me show you about Power BI because what Power BI have some analytics. I have a demo for this. So Power BI is an analytics tool through which you can have data and data from different data sources, from the cloud, from SQL Server, from any other application we can use it. So I go and use it. I can have data from the Power BI desktop. I can have from the Power BI service, and you can use in the mobile applications. So I just stop it. I share my my demo again, and share my file and my okay, and I have my data example. So again, I'm getting a data from one of the sample database. Again, a database sample I have, right? So I'm going to share with you, and the data I have is coming from different data sources, right? So I'm going to search for the click on the web, and I will search something called as a customers CSV. Okay, and I got the loaded. So I'm getting data from different data sources, and so this is my data I have, and so this is my customer table. I have another table. I have three tables to do. So I have first table I've done. Another table I have is something called as the products table. Okay, and then I load it, and then the other table I'm going to do is something called as my orders table. So this is coming from the samples which I have, and this is okay. So these are the tables I have. You can see the tables very easily here. All my customers, has city, names, all my orders. You can see products and the different categories I have. Okay, so that's how I'm doing it here. And later what I will do some I do some basic data modeling. So this data is I already have it. I already have it. I make some hierarchy as well, so that easy for me to show the data to my users. Okay, so I have this data, and what I will do, I will just in my revenue, I change the property, my data types to as a currency. Okay, and I just do currency change, and then I also do a simple hierarchy. The hierarchy I use it mostly for the to drilling the options, drilling for different options I have, right? So I have a category called as a hierarchy, and I also have hierarchy which is called as hierarchy. Yes, here, and I rename it this as a categorized hierarchy. Okay. And what I will do next is that I just go to table structure. Okay, I'm just pulling some analysis I'm showing to you. And what I will do next is that I will just click on uh, the table matrix. Okay, and I will go and get my hierarchy to be shown. You see, and I have this matrix I have, and I can also get my revenue shown here. Okay, so I have the revenue. I have already do formatting. I can also have some orders to be shown as well. Okay, so this is the way I can do it. Okay, and I can change this thing to as a stat column chart. You see, so this way you can easily create visualizations and publish to the Power BI services, and then you're good to go. Okay, so so all the three things I've shown to you about the relational, non-relational, and the analytics way. I have another session going soon, so any questions you have, you can ask me. I have 2 minutes for my next session, so you can just any questions you have.